Welcome to another edition of the Official Jets podcast powered by Amazon Web Services. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen here in the BetMGM studio debuting the new podcast look.
The green helmet is awfully sharp, and I do like my bobbleheads. I got Sammy D over here. Le'Veon Bell looks ready to roll, and the Hulkster.
The Hulkster, yeah. I got the old school guys. The old school helmet.
Classic.
We got Revis Island. Then we got the Mad Backer, Bart Scott, and we got the Hitman, David Harris. So the old school, the new school.
That's a good set of inside linebackers, and you have a lockdown cornerback.
Yeah, if we're going to like NFL Street, I feel good about my chances. We got the silent assassin, and then we got the loud assassin. Well, I got two silent assassins with the Hitman and Revis.
Yep.
Then Bart will just do all the talking on the street. So that's good, but today's episode, we're joined by Chris Hogan, who probably it took him 2 practices or so to really start making an impact in training camp.
I don't even know if it took him that long. Adam Gase was not surprised at all. There's some system familiarity because he was with New England under Josh McDaniels, and he comes into this system, picks up a new terminology, and Sam Darnold automatically, it felt like, just from us watching, that he had trust in him, and obviously picked up the system quick, and he looks like a veteran out there. And I can't believe he's, 32 years old right now? But Hogan is a guy who came in this summer who could play a key role for this offense that I think Adam Gase has talked about. The sum is greater than maybe its parts individually here. So there are a lot of Jets who I think are going to contribute offensively, and this is a guy who has made a lot of plays in the National Football League, and he's got a big-time chip on his shoulder.
And Chris Hogan joining the Jets makes him complete AFC East bingo. Started with the Dolphins, then had a stint with the Bills and the Patriots, and now he's a member of the New York Jets. Really quick, Chris Hogan and we discussed his Penn State career, which was all lacrosse before he became a football player at Monmouth and then the NFL. He gave some recommendations for food spots in his hometown or in that area, which is Ramapo, New Jersey, and Wyckoff. But one thing we didn't talk to him about was his 7-Eleven nickname, which Reggie Bush gave him with the Miami Dolphins on Hard Knocks. But I just have to know, do you have any nicknames growing up, or did you have any nicknames that you liked growing up?
Well, I'll do the return question here in a second. My sister early on, my first nickname was Doc because she could not pronounce Eric.
I was not expecting you to say Doc.
She's only 2 years older than me, so maybe she started doing that when she was 2 or 3 or whatever, and that stuck with me for a little bit. And then middle school, high school, EA became my moniker, I guess, my nickname, and it kind of stuck with me throughout my career. I do have an interesting story. In Tampa in 2000, Keyshawn Johnson, a former Jet, and myself got in an argument about top receivers in the AFC East.
Okay.
And at the time, I grew up in Buffalo, and I said Eric Moulds is one of the better receivers in the AFC. And Keyshawn's like, Eric Moulds he might not even be one of the top receivers in the AFC East. So we went back and forth on that a little bit.
And how old were you, in this argument with Keyshawn?
Well, I'd be giving away my age right now. But that's my first year in the National Football League.
Right.
Let's just say it's 2000. So in Tampa, they called me E. Moulds for a while. So Doc, EA, E. Moulds.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you?
One nickname that stands out more than others when I was growing up it has a good backstory, but it was E-Train, like a train. And the reason
you grew up in New York City.
Well, no, but that's not where it comes from. So I was at at camp or something, right? And we had to do these football drills where you had to run over these dummies, and there was a counselor at the end just waiting to pummel you.
Yeah.
And I was a chunky kid. So, chunky kid.
Well, to get into that some other time.
I got photos. I was a chunkster.
Okay.
And so I'm running through the bags, and everyone is getting pummeled at the end.
Yeah.
And I just low center of gravity, I just stood. And so some guy was like, damn, that's a train, that's E-Train. And then I was like, all right, great. I don't really like that because at the time I was chunky, and then it just stuck, and now I like it. So there you go.
All right.
E-Train, Doc,
7-Eleven.
E-mold. 7-Eleven's a good one, though.
7-Eleven is pretty cool if
But-
you are a wide receiver.
But I will say in Rush Hour 2, Jackie Chan says, you know why they call him 7-Eleven, talking about his partner, Chris Tucker. And Don Cheadle goes, no, why is that? And he goes, because his mouth is always open, because he never shuts up.
I think Hogan's a guy who is always going, not necessarily with his mouth. I just think that's his reputation. He's a battler. He's got some fire inside him, bottom line. So
It's a good nickname for Chris Hogan. It's a bad nickname for Chris Tucker in Rush Hour 2. But without further ado, let's hear from Chris Hogan on the Week 1 matchup against the Bills. So you're a Ramapo, New Jersey guy. What is it like driving to work knowing that you, one, grew up in the area, and two, you're now part of one of two hometown teams?
It's an awesome opportunity. You know, growing up in this area and still having family and friends that still live in the area. You know, when I got the opportunity to come here during training camp, you know, everyone was so thrilled and so pumped to me, my family, you know, being close to me, and obviously growing up around these teams and watching these teams, you know, when I was younger, to come to an organization like this, I mean, I was beyond excited. You know, it's great in the latter half of my career to come home and play, you know, close to home and for a team that's, you know, I grew up watching. It's, you know, I'm just really excited about it.
how crazy is that? You just talked about this being the latter half of your career. It feels like yesterday you were an undrafted free agent out of Monmouth.
Goes by fast, man. You know, this is going to be my 10th year. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you know, you play you first start playing, you know, you listen to these vets talk about how fast your career goes by, and in a blink of an eye, you'll be 4 or 5 years in, and you don't really ever listen to them because you're just worried about so many other things. And I was, you know, always focused on just trying to make a football team. And here I am now 10 years later, you know, so grateful that I'm able to, you know, put another year together, and excited to be here with the Jets.
Unique situation, though, considering your family. We talked about you growing up in New Jersey. Why were the Jets attractive, not just from a football perspective, but maybe from a family front?
I mean, from my family front, I mean, you know, I have 3 kids. I have twin 3.5-year-olds. I have a 10-month-old, well, actually 11 months old now. You know, and I put my family to the ringer, man. I mean, I've been in Buffalo, New England, Carolina, and, you know, God bless my wife. I mean, she's traveled all over the country for me. You know, she's driven my kids up to New England every single weekend. She's come up to Buffalo. She flew down to Carolina. And when I had the opportunity to come play here, you know, in New Jersey and be so close to home, you know, we were beyond excited about it. You know, I'm able to be, you know, we don't live together during the year because my wife, she works, she's a doctor, you know, she has her own career. And the fact that I'm able to be home so much and be around them during the season, you know, it's super exciting. So I grew up here. I'm comfortable in the area, you know, so I'm really pumped to be here and be part of this organization.
Chris, with what you just said, where during the season you don't see your wife and kids a whole lot, in a weird way, was quarantine kind of nice for you to be able to spend so much time with your family?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Ashley, my wife, and I, we talked about that the other day. I mean, you know, we hadn't spent that much time together since we started dating back in college, honestly. You know, and we spent every single day together. I mean, her work stopped, you know, because a lot of her surgeries were elective. So she wasn't working. So we were together every single day. My kids were together. I'm sure they weren't used to me being so much. So you know what? I mean, honestly, it was a blessing in disguise. You know, all this stuff. You know, being able to be home and you know, not have to travel as much and just to be around my family and really kind of, you know, not take that for granted. You know, it was a unique off season and everything that was going on, and obviously it wasn't. You know, we were home a lot, and you know, we weren't traveling or doing anything. But you know, in the same respect, you know, we were around each other, and it was time that we really have never been able to spend together, you know, since we've been married and since we've had kids. So, it was a fun off season.
What is her focus in the medical field? And while all this was going on, would you go home and say, okay, they're telling us this right now about COVID-19. What do you think? And she's probably like, give me a break.
So she is a podiatrist. So she does foot and ankle surgery. And I would say for the most part, my wife was, she kept us on board with all this stuff. And, we were sanitized to the max. We had it down. I mean, it took a couple of weeks for me to get on board, but we had the sanitizer in the car, the wipes in the car, and you know what? At the end, when I look back on it, I mean, I'm so thankful that she was just so on top of all this stuff, because you never know. Mm-hmm. We were still going to grocery stores, and we had to do daily things, with our kids, and we didn't take them out, obviously, but she kept us clean. So we they're all into washing their hands, and we have our own routine, and she kept us on track so that we thankfully none of us got sick, and we've all remained healthy throughout this whole thing.
Did you get to the point where you had to wipe down the groceries you bought, like the stuff in plastic?
We have a whole routine. So I mean, honestly, it's a 2-person job the way that we had it. I mean, we went to the grocery store pretty much. Every Monday we'd go, we do that. We do our Target run so that we had diapers, wipes, whatever, paper towels. Obviously, we're always on the hunt for paper towels. And when we got home, we had the routine. She would wipe everything down. I would re-wipe everything down. Then we put it all away. And we're still doing this. It became a habit now. So probably for the better. I mean, super clean. So we're not taking any chances.
There are so many directions we could go to right now, but let's go to the football field, Chris. What was your approach to training camp? Because a lot of people that I've talked to say, hey, this is a guy who plays with an edge. Like he is a pissed off player in a good way. He's looking to make a point out there. How was training camp? And now, what do you think about getting another opportunity here as you go to Buffalo?
So, this whole off season for me was unique, right? I mean, I was a free agent. I was coming off an injury. Didn't have an opportunity to really go work out for teams, and just had to remain pretty patient. My patience was certainly tested. And for me, I was pretty dead set on playing football this year. I didn't care where it was and what they wanted me to do, whatever role it wanted to be, that I was dead set on playing football. And when I got the opportunity, when the Jets called and they wanted to bring me in, realistically, I didn't really care if people knew who I was or what I had accomplished over the years. I just wanted to play, and I wanted to play, with that chip on my shoulder that I had started when I started my career. The guy that, will do anything and everything to make a football team, to go out there and whatever's asked of me, do it. And, that's what I'm excited about doing. And, that's what I think these guys brought me in here to do, and I'm excited about it.
Chris, when you get brought into training camp at the stage you did, I've always wondered this. Your first day at practice, when you haven't really fully digested the playbook, who's helping you out with what route you should run? Is that a coach? Is that like Sean Jefferson? Is that Sam Darnold? Like, how does that process work?
So, I mean, I think for me, I've been in the league for 10 years, and obviously there were some similarities to this offense. I picked up this offense pretty quickly, and obviously, in any offense, in any playbook, it's just going to take time and putting in the work and the effort to actually study it and learn the details and whatnot. Having Sean and having Hines as receiver coaches is awesome. I mean, to have two guys that played in the league for as long as they did and to have as much success as they did is awesome. They're just so knowledgeable about it. And so when you first get there, I think there's a little bit, they helped me out. Kind of told me, first day, I mean, I hadn't even looked at the playbook yet. So they're kind of just line up here, run this route. And then each day, you just progress. and I'd learn a little bit more and learn a little bit more to the point where, they didn't have to help me. It was on me, and trying to hold myself accountable to learning the offense myself and not having someone to, walk around and follow me and tell me what to run. So it was a learning curve, and, had to do it pretty quickly given, the point that I came in training camp. But, I kind of knew that coming into this, so I was prepared for the task, and, continuing to work on, learning this offense so that I can go out there and, play fast and know what I'm doing.
You played with the greatest quarterback perhaps of all time, and Tom Brady had a lot of success with the Patriots. This is your fourth and final team in the AFC East, I would say. You've completed the circuit.
I completed it.
What do you think about the landscape of this division now as you start going this is another homecoming for you, going back to Buffalo, but just the landscape of the division, how does it feel very different as a player without Tom being in there?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously different being on the opposite side of things, and looking at our opponents in New England, Buffalo, and Miami, and I think definitely things have changed a little bit. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, every single one of these teams in this division is competitive, and as you guys know, and everyone else knows, I mean, it's tough to win in this league, and Buffalo is coming off a strong year. I think Miami is getting it together, and New England's always going to be competitive. They're always going to put out the best players out there and have a good game plan. And, going up to New England's always tough. But, I think, what we have going on here, I mean, I really like the way that we're working this year, and the team that we have in this locker room. We got a really awesome bunch of guys in here that are hungry, young and want to win football games. So, I think starting in Buffalo, I think is best case scenario. You get to open with in your league and in the division, in front of no fans, but which will be kind of weird. But it's definitely, I think it's an awesome opportunity for us to start this way.
You developed chemistry with Sam Darnold early on. A lot of onlookers out there at camp would think that you guys have been playing together for years. What do you like most about his game?
Sam throws the ball awesome. I mean, his accuracy, his command. I'm learning how to communicate with him. Every single day that we're out in practice, and I'm trying to get in as many reps as I can, and just trying to talk to him, about what he sees and how he likes things run, because I think that quarterback receiver relationship is so key to having success on the field. Something like that definitely takes time. So, in every single practice and every single time that we're watching film or after a team period, just going up to him and asking him questions. I mean, the guy, he's very knowledgeable about the game and this offense. He's been in it now for a couple of years. And, I think the more and more that we get to work together, that relationship just will continue to build, and, the timing will continue to get better. And I think that's really what we're working on right now. And, we'll be putting in a lot of work this week to get ready for Buffalo.
Chris, I got a two-part question for you for my last one. The first one is, as somebody that used to hear the Bills Mafia roar, how weird is it to be playing up there with no fans? And the second part of this is just to be able to communicate with the rest of your teammates, even though there probably will be crowd noise of some sort, but to be able to communicate at a better level than maybe you typically would be able to on the road.
It's going to be weird. I mean, I played there for 4 years, and in New England, I played there. That place is electric. Yeah. And week one, home opener, and I played in those games. I mean, that crowd is wild and loud. And it's tough to even, it's tough to communicate in those games. And the fact that there's not going to be that element in these games, I think it works to everyone's advantage, but obviously the opponent offense, not having to deal with, an insane amount of noise on third down and in the red zone and in those, 2-minute drills or whatever it is, the fact that we can actually communicate and most likely hear each other, will definitely be different. But I think it works to our advantage that we're going to be able to do all of that.
And my final question is, you were such an excellent lacrosse player at Penn State before transferring to Monmouth and doing everything there. Is Jim Brown the greatest athlete of all time, considering what Jim Brown did as a lacrosse player before coming over to the National Football League?
Say that. What was the question?
Jim Brown, greatest athlete of all time, because you know exactly what he did, being such an accomplished lacrosse player. And then you could have made the argument that he was the greatest lacrosse player of all time, and then you could make the argument he was the greatest running back of all time.
I mean, that guy in the lacrosse football crossover community, I mean, that guy's the legend. You know, you try to beat the next Jim Brown, right? I mean, playing lacrosse. I mean, I think that as this sport continues to grow, I think people become more aware of the degree of skill and athleticism that goes into playing the sport, and you see it now on TV more in the PLL, and I think people are starting to become more aware of these guys just as athletes, and then to be able to do that in two different sports at a professional level. I mean, it's pretty incredible. The bar is set, so now I have to, when I'm done playing football, I'm going to have to go try to play in the PLO, I guess.
Have any of the fellas asked you about your lacrosse career?
I think some guys, when I'm new and I tell them that I played 4 years of lacrosse, they kind of look at me kind of with an odd look, like, I played a year of football. And then I tell them that I played cornerback in college and not receiver. And then they really give me that weird, like, what are you talking about kind of look. So I love telling the guys about my story and where I come from, because that's such a huge part of me and what helped me get to where I'm at today.
Awesome. Love it. Real quick before we let you go, if somebody's in the Ramapo, Wyckoff area, which restaurant or pizza place or whatever are you telling them to go? What's your go-to spot?
Ooh. That's a good question. There's no. Oh man. Well, let's see. It's not in Wyckoff. I'm a big Nelly's Pizza guy. It's in Waldwick. Best pizza I've ever had.
Wow.
Nelly's Pizza.
And is this like a thin slice or
then hold on. And then if you're going for a deli and you need a sandwich, you go to Market Basket.
Market Basket
sandwiches.
And what type of, like, is the Nelly's Pizza thin? Is it Sicilian?
Thin crust, great sauce, good food.
Love it. Love it.
It's awesome.
All right, Chris.
Nelly's Pizza.
Yeah, we got to hit up Nelly's Pizza. Appreciate the time, Chris.
Pizza.
Thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Thank you.
Chris Hogan dropping some restaurant knowledge. We alluded to it earlier. But how do you like your pizza? He said he likes thin slice. Some people prefer the Sicilian, the thicker.
I like grandma pizzas. Thin slice. I mean, that's as thin as you can be. I don't like the traditional pizza. I like grandma pies.
So you like, if your normal pie, your standard pie is just average, and then there's thin, you prefer it thinner than thin?
Yeah.
Like you like almost like cracker crust?
I love grandma pizza. All right. Period. I don't like that Chicago deep dish.
No, that's not pizza. That's
good.
lasagna. Chicago deep dish is not. I don't like it either. I'm sorry.
Can we talk about Sunday a little bit?
Yeah, we can.
Hogan going back to Buffalo, interesting storyline, and like he said, it is going to be weird for all of those players, especially a guy like the new Jets receiver who basically had his breakout in Buffalo before he went on to New England. Here's the guy who's averaged 13.3 yards of reception over the course of his career. A couple years ago, 17.9 yards of reception with the New England Patriots.
That led the NFL.
He is going to be counted on early for this team, considering the injuries they've had to deal with throughout the summer, right? We'll have to see as the week progresses what Prashad Perryman's status is, also Denzel Mims. But Hogan is a guy who had an impressive training camp, but it's going to be an interesting atmosphere as he goes back to Buffalo, one of his former homes.
No doubt about it. This is Monday as we're recording, less than a week away, like 6 days away by the time this podcast gets posted. it'll be less than that. Football is around the corner, and that's all we have here on the official Jets podcast powered by Amazon Web Services. We'll see you after week 1 next week.